You just got to look at the reigning BlizzCon champions. They are on the stage right now, but it's not going to be an easy one. They are going against one of the most dominant teams in Wildcard Gaming. What are these guys going to have in store? I think this is one of those matchups that a lot of us has been looking to today to really set the tempo of potentially the entire tournament, definitely this side of the bracket. And joining us on the desk right now for some analysis, it's been a long time, Healing Stat. I think BlizzCon was the last time we actually got to sit next to you, and we missed you a whole bunch.
Thank you very much. And I mean, I really missed it. Like throughout the entire Cups, I was just sitting at home watching all these teams develop, who we would have at the spring finals. And I mean, there isn't a better time to come back, Rich, than for the actual finals. You know, the best teams in Europe and North America vying right now on the main stage for a BlizzCon spot.
Yeah, I mean, you get to watch everything at home in your PJs, hang out, and then come here for the big show. Well, we're definitely glad to have you back, and this is a pretty good matchup as well. Not only is it the right time as far as the tournament's concerned, but this is a pretty good matchup to jump in on. Ben, what do you think actually happens here?
I'm not sure. I want to say your guess is as good as mine. So I think when we look at these two teams traditionally, they've both been sort of melee experts. So on the side of Method Orange, really relying on that Demon Hunter Death Knight composition earlier on in the Cups, then Wildcard Gaming sort of discovering how powerful that Windwalker Death Knight Mistweaver Monk really is. But guess what? Method Orange also has that. So I think you can draw parallels on this team. For Wildcard Gaming, they have Maro bringing it down on the casters, on the mage. For Method Orange, they have Samayam bringing it down on the casters and the mage. So I think for the most part, this matchup could end up coming down to the blind pick. And like you said, there are a lot of parallels to draw for these teams. You can see both of them getting 34 wins in the initial stages, the Spring Cups. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. I think for Method Orange, they might have their hands full, because the one thing Wildcard Gaming has an edge over them is the fact that they can play double caster. So you have someone like Zeepai on the roster who plays the Death Knight at a very high level, but also can play that Elemental Shaman. And I think that flexibility might give Wildcard Gaming a little bit of edge in this matchup.
Yeah, I know. We've all joked about Samayam keeping the team hydrated and things like that in the past, but I think you look at him in this tournament and you say he's probably one of the most important players on the squad. If they can actually find a way to utilize Sam, I mean, we've seen just how dominant he can be at BlizzCon, right? On the biggest stage. If they didn't have that composition, they probably don't win the tournament.
No.
When you look at Samayam, though, right now, how are they going to utilize him, Supatis? I feel like that's kind of been their struggle throughout the seasons. They start off, they're kind of trying to stay comfortable. We still see him on the Moonkin, and it just doesn't fit into the meta the same way that it did before we got to this season.
Mez and Trill have kind of been zug-zugging for years now with their Windwalker Death Knight, and now with Sea-Doo, obviously, BlizzCon champions. That's kind of their bread and butter, these melee cleave setups. Samayam brings his mage. He won the tournament last year with his balanced druid, and I don't think the Balanced Druid really is in a position with the classes that they have on their roster to utilize his mage. On the other hand, I could see some use if he has found practice with Trill on the Windwalker, but we don't really think of Method Orange as the mage druid synergy. We think of them as the melee cleave, Sea-Doo with the perfect defensive plays, nice offensive utility, pushing the other team over the edge, and that's what they've focused on a lot. So I would be surprised to see them break out here in game number 1 with their mage Windwalker, but moving forward, that composition is so potent into melee cleaves like the Windwalker Death Knight, which Wildcard Gaming have on their side. They've been playing. It's one of their highest win rates with the Mistweaver and the Windwalker and Death Knights, and I'm very curious to see how it plays out. We might end up seeing a mirror, Windwalker Death Knight mirror, but I would likely expect to see Sea-Doo on the Shaman.
Adrian, last time that you actually got to cast and commentate over Wildcard Gaming, they still had Walrix, one of the best warlocks in the entire world. Now, Maro going to be the addition on the squad. How do you think this actually sets them up for this tournament, having Maro as their fourth?
I mean, I honestly think adding Maro was the smartest move Wildcard Gaming could have made, because while Warwicks is, I think, for many people, undoubtedly the best warlock in Europe right now, I'm struggling to compare him to what we saw in that last series with Chanimals just completely blowing everyone out the water, but it's... For Maro, he's just been such a consistent mage. He's coming on the Moonkin as well, and I would say that he's played the Moonkin to a higher level than we saw Warwick's doing last year. So that's been fantastic for the team. And it's just given them so many different options. You know, we've seen the Mage Elemental, we've seen the Moonkin Elemental coming out from what was traditionally a melee kind of cleave expert team. It's been fantastic, and Wildcard Gaming, honestly, they're potentially the best team in Europe right now, even though they come in as number 2 seed.
And you think about last year, right? And there was all the time, we would kind of be like, you know, Wildcard Gaming, when Warlocks are strong, they are very strong. That's not been a talking point this year. They've had a lot of diversity in their compositions. They've been able to adapt alongside the meta. The question is,
there he is.
They've been keeping up that trend.
How did Wildcard Gaming predict this? Method Orange anticipated Windwalker Death Knight, so they went with the Windwalker Mage. Wildcard Gaming anticipated that anticipation and went with the Elemental Shaman and the Balance Druid. Wildcard Gaming were one step ahead in the mind game, but let's see if they can execute on it. Sam I Am is going to be entering in game number 1 for Method Orange, and as I said, we don't know Method Orange for that Mage Druid synergy, and I want to see how much they've prepared with it.
Yeah, I think they have been practicing quite a bit. I know Sidu and Sam I Am before this tournament, they were boot camping together, practicing day in, day out. Nice triple crowd control early on for Method Orange. Zeepai taking a huge amount of pressure. Looney with the Relentless is going to be very vulnerable to the Mage Druid crowd control as long as they can find it. Sam I Am getting interrupted into the Lightning Lasso. Good pressure for Wildcard Gaming. Good response. Zeepai did take a lot of pressure early on with the Astral Shift, and he could just easily fall.
Big burst here from Method Orange. Great initiation by Sidu, getting that Bash Cyclone and then putting Wildcard Gaming on the back foot. Trill keeping up the momentum with huge Fists of Fury pressure. Looney struggling to deal with this, just getting bullied by Method Orange here in game number 1. Sidu moves in for another one. Lands the clone. Maro's locked out. Zeepai's on the run. He's on a 3-on-1. Sam I Am gets stunned up. He's not able to follow up with any damage. Zeepai back at the pillar with Looney at his side. Sam I Am blinks in, and Method Orange are all offense, but maybe a miscommunication. Zeepai getting cycloned when Looney was polymorphed. Sidu trying to compensate, switching that over to Maro, but now Zeepai is able to escape.
Yeah, Zeepai on the run, and that's going to be his main objective in this matchup. Method Orange is going to be looking to put crowd control on Looney. Zeepai constantly going to be running behind the pillar, running out of line of sight of Sam I Am, making it very difficult. Sam I Am, basically, he can either get crowd control on Looney or do damage to Zeepai. That leaves Zeepai in a favorable position where he's only really taking damage from Trill. That way Looney's able to easily recover, and they can find these counter pressure situations like right now.
Big swap on Trill. That's going to be his Touch of Karma, vital defensive cooldown for a Windwalker Monk to stay alive. And now without that, Wildcard Gaming have an opening. Trill's going to need to be careful. Sidu, though, he's moving in aggressively, getting a lot of cyclones. You can tell that Method Orange have been putting in some time on this Mage Restoration Druid, and that's very important for them because I would say their main weakness moving into this final was their lack of diversity. If they can pull in the Mage Druid synergy and the melee cleaves, Method Orange are going to be a big threat, but Trill's overextended. That vulnerable cooldown that they forced earlier, he manages to hang on with that Fortified Brew. Clutch heal by Sidu. Nana slightly ahead of Wildcard Gaming. And Sidu's going to need to be aware of that, as this is likely to be an extended match when facing such a high-caliber team on such a strategically defensive composition.
Maro doing a good job shutting down some of that crowd control. Bash into Cyclone on Sidu. Who is Wildcard Gaming going to be going after? Doesn't look like he can really find a target. Good positioning here by Method Orange. Zeepai still under fire. Looney with the way of the crane, looking to get really aggressive. Lightning Lasso on Trill. That gets interrupted. Very nice backup by Sam I Am, really denying the amount of damage Zeepai has with that Lightning Lasso. Also mitigating some of that control, but Looney has to be a little bit careful with the way of the crane. The good thing about this setup in particular, though, you know, when the Mistweaver Monk normally uses the way of the crane, it's a very expensive spell, but it pairs very nicely with the Balance Druid, who has that Innervate, making all of those expensive spells free of charge for a short while. So as long as Wildcard Gaming are pairing those two abilities together, Looney should get huge value from the way of the crane.
Ooh, Looney gets counterspelled. Let's see what Method Orange can do off the back of that in terms of crowd control. No follow-up just yet. Sidu gets denied into a Cyclone now as Trill gets bursted. 1 second left. Touch of Karma just in time to stay alive. They're not going to force through it just yet. Trill retreating back behind the pillar, recovering with Sidu at his side. Now Sidu moving forward, looking for crowd control. Looney gets paralysis. Zeepai and a polymorph. Are they going for a swap? They're switching over to Looney. They're trying to catch him off guard. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to do so. Looney Transcendence is back behind the portal, but now we see Sidu moves in with a bash. Looney's still in trouble, disrespecting some of the burst here from Method Orange, but manages to hold on to a lot of cooldowns with that positioning. Trill now on the run.
Yeah, just a little bit of a misplacement on that Ring of Peace from Trill, and they might punish him for it. He's getting low. Fortifying Brew is activated, reducing some of the incoming damage. Sidu has to play catch-up. Trill should survive, but the Trill had just placed that Ring of Peace a little bit differently. Could have kept Looney in a position where he really couldn't have gotten away, and that might have been the kill for Method Orange. But that was a nice attempt. forcing Looney very defensive. He still has the life cocoon as well as the relentless. Now a big attempt over onto Zeepai. Method Orange really doing a great job of finding offense in this matchup.
I'll say it's impressive that Trill can balance both top tier rating, Mythic Plus, Dungeon Invitational, and the Arena World Championship all at the same time. Method Orange with this Windwalker Mage, their setups are looking solid, but it's really mana on the clock. Sea-Doo has managed to find some mana moving for a late game. That's going to be very important as Wildcard Gaming are going to drag this out as long as possible. So let's see if Sea-Doo can keep up both this crowd control and mana management to keep his team in the fight, as we would say that they're disadvantaged compositionally. Wildcard Gaming were anticipating this, and when locking in this balanced 3 Elemental Shaman, Stormkeeper, Incarnation, comboed together by Wildcard Gaming. This is a big moment for them to burst down a target. Sam Iam's in trouble. He's got the Temporal Shield rolling. It's absorbing all of this damage, and it's going to heal it back to full. Perfect time shield by Sam Iam now as he looks for a swap on the Looney. Looney ducks recover, rolling across the map. Both these teams keeping each other on their toes.
Definitely paralysis over on the Sea-Doo. That was a nice double leg sweep by Looney to set up that situation, getting Sam Iam, Trill, and Sea-Doo in crowd control. Sam Iam actually traded out his trinket there, so the next Lightning Lasso will sit full, and that's an opportunity for Wildcard Gaming to get aggressive. We're at 3% dampening at this point in the game. Trill sitting on all his defensive cooldowns is once again Wildcard Gaming looking to make an attempt on him. And early on, Sea-Doo was behind on mana, but with the way they're playing it now, Sea-Doo's mana has stabilized. Method Orange still in a decent position in this matchup. They need to find another attempt. Seems like Looney is their main kill target at this point, but with Trill on the Windwalker Monk and Sea-Doo on the Restoration Druid, they really have to wait for the long cooldown leg sweep to make a swap on Looney. It becomes relatively predictable when they can only go and make an attempt every minute.
Sea-Doo's trying to cross midfield to stop Looney from drinking, but he got blasted crossing the field. He's going to have to spend a lot of mana to recover from that. Looking for a Cyclone on Zeepai, trying to set up the team for a swap to Looney. Morrow needs to save him. Can Morrow get in position to start getting some crowd control? He moves in. He's not able to get the Cyclone. Looney realizes he's isolated. He's going to trade a cooldown instead. He cannot rely on his teammates. Now they can get aggressive, though. Trill is in a Lightning Lasso. Double leg sweep. Perfect crowd control from Wildcard Gaming as they begin to strike back. Sea-Doo now in a Cyclone. Sam Iam on the run. Trill trying to support with Vivifies. Zeepai closing in on the opposite side. Looney taking this opportunity while Method Orange are under pressure to drink. If Looney can regenerate back to full mana, that's a huge opportunity as Way of the Crane is a big push. It costs a lot of mana, though, and now Looney will have access to it moving into dampening. This is trouble time for Method Orange.
Yeah, Method Orange, I think they need to go back to the strategy of trying to take down Zeepai. Going after Looney, although it can be fruitful if you can get that huge one-shot attempt, it seems like they had way more control of the matchup when they were on Zeepai. Looney once again trying to cut away. Trill forced to play a little bit defensive in the situation. And the forward to be charging out into midfield just yet, trading out the touch of Karma onto Zeepai. Method Orange, they're falling a little bit apart in game number 1. They had such good aggression and crowd control very early on, finally able to stabilize. But like I said, I really want to see them go back onto Zeepai, try to control Looney, and get a hold of this matchup.
Big damage on Sam Iam with double interrupt secured from Wildcard Gaming. Both teams playing phenomenal defense and offense throughout game number 1 of Series 2 of the day. BlizzCon champions of both sides, but the reigning champions are on the ropes as Trill gets burned. He barely stays alive. He's portaled back around the corner on 5% remaining health, and Method Orange managed to clamor it back together.
Yep, and it looks like Sea-Doo will be able to keep Trill alive. That was a beautiful Transcendence and Diffuse magic, but Trill, with the way he has his defensive cooldowns rotating up, is going to have to play relatively scared in this matchup at this point, getting a nice ring of peace, double leg sweep. Here's an attempt on the Looney. Morrow not there to back him up. Can they take him down? Looney with the life cocoon is going to be able to keep himself up just yet. Doesn't look like Sam Iam and Trill really have the follow-up damage, and that's one of the problems with the long cooldown leg sweep. Looney's always going to have that life cocoon available on every single attempt Method Orange has on him.
Stormkeeper available for Zeepai. That's going to be a big hit for him should he decide to activate it at any moment. And Trill is exposed. He's in midfield, realizing he's overextended. Portaling back behind the pillar, but Sea-Doo's got very little mana to recover the team. Solar Beam onto 2 members. Zeepai's moving in. He's got Stormkeeper. He wants to go after Sam Iam. Sam Iam's in trouble. He's far away from Sea-Doo. He's got ice blocks, but he needs to be careful to get it off in time. Ice Barrier absorbs some hits. Gets both lightning bolts on that Stormkeeper. Nice kiting from Sam Iam, but Sea-Doo's still locked down in crowd control. 3 members in trouble. Swap onto Sea-Doo. How's he going to recover, Ben?
I'm not sure at this point, and with this positioning, Wildcard Gaming is certainly favored. Sam Iam still low. Sea-Doo doesn't really have too much left to work with. There's only a little bit of mana left in the tank. Looney getting caught into a paralysis. Sam I Am pushing forward. There's the leg sweep. This is the one-shot attempt, but Fortifying Brew preemptively used by Looney should be able to get that life cocoon off. Fortifying Brew, life cocoon, forced out. Method Orange still pushing through. Sea-Doo all over him. Is he going to be able to get the cycle?
Oh no! He gets clotheslined!
Sea-Doo in a lot of trouble.
He gets clotheslined by Wildcard Gaming right on that big push. It's not enough. Sea-Doo manages to hold on even at 25% dampening, clinging for life at this point to try and take the blind pick. It's so important to win game number 1 with both teams at a top caliber position in terms of compositions. Z-Pie now gets burnt. Looney's retreating back to the line of sight to try and avoid any incoming interrupts, but he's struggling to recover Z-Pie. There's limited defense for him. If Sam I Am and Trill can stay on target, Sam I Am gets cloned up at low health by Morrow. Morrow carrying the team right now, setting up for huge damage potentially out of that. Solar beaming Sea-Doo on a heal. Sam I Am getting owned. Big lava burst, huge lightning lasso combo gets broken up by the ice block, but an overlap with Sea-Doo's Iron Bark, and this game is going to be ending shortly, and it's still anyone's match.
Yeah, Trill getting a little bit low. He does have all his defensive cooldown. Z-Pie with the Stormkeeper, though, has huge burst damage available. Full polymorph on the Looney into a full leg sweep. Another huge attempt on the Looney. Can they take him down? DR Bash coming in from Sea-Doo. Can Method Orange do it? Looney with the life cocoon should be able to hold on, rolling to the midfield with his Thunder Focus T, able to top himself off quite quickly as well. Sea-Doo's mana down to around 5%. And at this point, I have to say, Wildcard Gaming have a huge lead.
Nice interrupt on that Lightning Lasso. Trill on the run. He's got basically nothing. How can they do this? Looney with a double leg sweep. Looney leads the charge, but gets polymorphed away by Sam I Am. Every single player in this match playing out of their minds to try and take game number 1. Take that blind pick advantage, have the comp advantage for the swing match. It's so important to win game number 1 in Series 2 of the day between North America and Europe 2019 Spring Finals. And every single player playing insane. Z-Pie in trouble. Looney gets interrupted. Huge damage from Method Orange, but then Trill gets reversed on him. Pre-touch of Karma. The incoming Lightning Lasso, but he's still so low. Z-Pie low as well. 2 members on both sides. Potential cross kill here in game number 1.
There's Touch of Death available for Method Orange. If they can find the damage, that was a beautiful counterspell by Sam I Am, setting up his team. Z-Pie was in a lot of trouble, but finally able to recover. Method Orange, Sam I Am low, he wants to push in. They just need one nice crowd control chain on Looney with that Touch of Death, and Z-Pie could easily fall. I think Wildcard Gaming realizing the situation, Z-Pie's trying to get out of midfield, trying to cross the map, but Method Orange in hot pursuit.
Let's see what they can do. Sam I Am get Lightning Lasso, he trinkets out, he goes for the polymorph, he goes for the all-in to take out Z-Pie. Z-Pie already on the run, Morrow with support, Trill bashed away, Sam I Am's now exposed. He's trying to get on target, but he just can't find him. Z-Pie is too slippery, and he's avoiding all of this pressure. Looney, though, still in crowd control. Sea-Doo gets the Cyclone. Z-Pie's in midfield. Sam I Am can cast. He's trying to get back to the pillar, but Looney's left behind. Maybe they swapped to Looney out of the Cyclones. Not going to be going for it. Sam I Am now gets cloned up desperately to stall. Morrow doing everything in his power, but Sea-Doo has the mana lead. He's perfectly managed his mana, both aggressively and defensively, but Trill's in trouble. Double stunned up. Z-Pie gets cloned. Sea-Doo trying to save the day, but then Trill equally getting cloned at low health. It's coming down to the wire. There's almost no mana left on either side.
Yes, Sea-Doo was able to recover some of his mana, though, and Trill, in 9 seconds, is going to have the defensive cooldowns he needs to really make a push, that final push onto Wildcard Gaming, but Z-Pie has the Astral Shift rotating back up. What is Wildcard Gaming going to do? Sam I Am getting a little bit low, only having the one ice block. This is the Touch of Death, all in for Method Orange. Full polymorph secured on Looney. Z-Pie on the run. Life Cocoon connects, and I think Z-Pie's going to be able to survive. Sam I Am, in the meantime, caught into a Lightning Lasso, forced into his second ice block.
That's both ice blocks out of the way, and you're not going to see another one in game number 1. It's do or die for Method Orange at this point, but equally so for Wildcard Gaming. It's actually still anyone's match. If Z-Pie even makes one slip up and is not able to avoid an attack, he will get blasted by Method Orange, but both the same could be said for Trill. How is Sea-Doo going to do it? He's got 0 mana left. Looney, is he sitting down for a drink? Sea-Doo, this is it. He's moving across the map. How much crowd control can he get for the team? He needs to nail it. They might go for a swap. Looney gets paralysis into the bash. He decides to trinket it. Now he could be exposed for crowd control as Z-Pie is getting just destroyed at this moment in time. Method Orange, they're clattering it together. Sea-Doo gets the Cyclone, potentially the game-winning Cyclone on Looney. Morrow gets denied on his peels. Perfect teamwork, but now Sam gets blasted. Z-Pie gets the reverse kill. It's absolutely unbelievable as Sam I Am holds on in desperation, managing to cling to life, but Z-Pie is stabilized at higher health, and Sea-Doo's got nothing left.
Yeah, Sam I Am still low, just one hit away from falling. How is Sea-Doo keeping him alive? Morrow pushes in. final nail in the coffin, and Wildcard Gaming claims #1. Sid, I blinked and it was 52% dampening.
Yeah, and you really can't even appreciate what Blizzo did in the matchup until you're here at the LAN. I've never seen someone yell so loud. Blizzo was yelling kill for about 45 seconds there, healing stat. Now, we start off the day with an incredibly quick series. Now we get to this one, we make it into dampening, and that's Wildcard Gaming's beautiful palace. They love it there in dampening, Adrian.
They really do, and this is a classic European composition coming out here. The Elemental Shaman with the Moonkin. The win condition is just to survive. The entire game, you see Zeepai in that Ghost Wolf form, basically means that he's always moving at least normal movement speed, so 100% movement speed. He can kite Trill whenever they land the full polymorphs over onto Looney. That's where the Elemental Shaman excels. They try drag Trill or Samayan behind the pillar, get those lightning lasso stuns, and I mean, time and time again in this game, Zeepai living on a thread of health. These are two top caliber teams. Obviously BlizzCon champions Method Orange and Wildcard Gaming, who have won the last 3 European Cups, and they're starting to show how they do, why they're a serious competitor in this tournament. Such a back and forth game, but Wildcard Gaming, if they can keep making those preemptive plays with the Life Cocoon, with the Astral Shift from Zeepai, and survive till this late game dampening win condition, that's how they're going to pull through with the victory.
I'm not quite sure what a shaman is, but I didn't really expect to see too many. We expect elemental shamans, but when we look on the healing side of things, when you think of Sea-Doo, you think of shaman, right? I think we're going to see Sea-Drew a lot more than we're probably going to see Shaman. And it did look really good. That's going to be an important thing in the series. But I want to go down to the floor right now and hear if Aya managed to glean any information about how these teams are feeling.
Hey guys, we just saw Wildcard Gaming win that first game, and everybody is scared of this team. Nobody wants to face them. They are such a strong powerhouse of a team, having won the last 3 cups in this season. And I was able to speak with Maro before this game started, and he really thought that, the only way that Method Orange could win this one is if they picked a comp that they just weren't ready for. Also, over to the side of Method Orange, and we did see them win last BlizzCon, but we really haven't been able to see them find their stride this year. But I spoke to Mez earlier before the game, and he did seem confident, but he also seemed a little bit nervous. So hopefully we'll see how the rest of that match plays out. Thanks, Rich. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that you touched on 2 of the things that we were starting to discuss on the desk, because there were questions surrounding both of these teams. I think the question for Wildcard Gaming was, have they stagnated? Did they hit their stride and then they get to the LAN and maybe some of the teams caught up? Even when we talked to them, they were talking about Method Black, for example, and they go, yeah, Method Black is a team that learns. It takes them a little bit of time, but once they do, they completely crack the code, and sometimes they look unbeatable. On the side of Method Orange, it's like, okay, they just won BlizzCon. Are they having a little bit of that victory hangover? Now, Adrian, you don't quite know what that would feel like to be able to win BlizzCon, and then Ben Ruki, you do. Do you think that there is a little bit of that moment of, wait, we just won. Are we not practicing as much? Do we not know exactly where to go? Does that happen after you win a championship?
I think it really depends on the team, and I think it really depends on the person. I mean, for some people, once you finally hit that top-tier goal, you're satisfied. I mean, you reach that achievement. For a lot of these players, a lot of these rosters, they are still fighting for that first place at the end of the year. Method Orange, like you said, I don't know, maybe they're not as hungry as they were last year, but I have to say in game #1, they actually looked surprisingly good on that Mage Restoration Druid Windwalker Monk. They had really good crowd control, really good burst setups, and they brought that game to a position where they could have easily won. I'm really curious to see where they go in game #2, though. It looks like Ashermane's Fall will be the map pick. In terms of composition, Wildcard Gaming, they're going to be sticking to their guns, and they're basically asking Method Orange, do you have an answer for this composition?
Yeah, I know that for myself, sometimes you talk about that BlizzCon, like that little bit of a hangover, essentially. You just had that big victory. I know for me, sometimes after a season, if I hit 1K or something like that, it gets really stressful for me.
1K.
And it's hard. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to
We did a lot better than that, okay?
So you can't tell.
Now you're making me look bad, because I've played with. We did a lot better than 1K.
Sid couldn't carry me to 1K.
We were at least 15.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That's why I can't actually speak in chat. But when we do look at what Method Orange has been able to do, I think they're starting to answer that question already. That maybe isn't the case. Because one of the other ones that I really did want to ask was going to be based around healers. You already heard Adrian talk about that. You already heard Healing Stat talk about that. One of the other questions, though, that I did want to talk about was Trill. Because, yes, he's Mr. Warcraft. We've talked about that time and time again. when is this guy going to spread himself too thin? And it kept looking like we keep seeing him do more and more. It doesn't matter what stream you pop into. Usually the top Warcraft stream, if it's a tournament, you got Trill competing in it. I was looking at the actual raid race for Crucible of Storms. The early portions of that, he's competing, and he's even tanking, right? So we see him doing so much. Do you think that he ever gets to the point that he spreads himself too thin?
I mean, I would definitely say so. I honestly, when I was expecting to speak to Method Orange at the start of, yesterday was when we talked to them for the first time, I was surprised by just how much frustration there is in their roster. And I think a big part of it comes down to the fact that they're not able to do the same schedules. Like they all put time aside for their practice, but Trill, he's got the Mythic Dungeon International. He competed in the last cup there. He's playing Crucible of Storms, pushing with Limit. He is Mr. Warcraft, but at some point, all these other people are Mr. Arena. Like all these guys are putting hours and hours and hours dedicated practice into solely Arena. And if they can't find the time, they lost the first cup because Trill was effectively not there. That's why they're slightly lower seeded here. And I think Ven summarized this last game very well. This game was surprisingly good from Method Orange. I was really impressed with how they pulled that together. This is an old composition, not necessarily a favorable meta for them, but I think if you go into the summer season, let's say they don't get the performance they want here, these guys are the defending champions. They're going to maybe need to start asking questions of Trill. He needs to be prioritizing this if they're going to win BlizzCon again.
I think that is important to jump out on a limb and say that, because you look at the entire team composition and you got your two dads in Mez and Sea-Doo, and then their shared son in Sam I Am, right? He's kind of the baby of the team who's just stepped up in every regard. But the amount of dedication that all three of them definitely put into Arena, it's never a question, right? I think Sea-Doo plays more WoW than most people, whether it's on stream or whether it is in practice. And Trill plays more WoW than most people as well. But there is so much ground to cover when you look at how broad the game really is, how many ways there are to compete. And when we're asking players who the best monk was, usually it was always Chun-Li and Trill who were in the conversation. This time, it was Chun-Li and Zac who were actually in the conversation. Trill delivers in the first game, and we're going to be keeping our eyes on him here again. Wildcard Gaming leads by 1.
All right, Method Orange set themselves up well here on Tolvaron Arena. So the main disadvantage they had on the Grand was that it's a smaller map, and Sea-Doo wasn't able to drink as frequently and have mana later into the fight. But now they've set themselves up on Tolvaron Arena, although the damage is in favor of Wildcard Gaming early on. Big burst moment. Sam I Am Shadow Melds the incoming Gladiator's Maledict. Dispelled on the second, but there's a third incoming, and the first ice block will be forced by Wildcard Gaming.
Bit of a disaster here for Method Orange, not able to get that initial crowd control that we saw in game number 1. Sam I Am forced into an early ice block. If he gets that cold snap cooldown rolling early on, I think it's likely we see 3 ice blocks in this match, because the last game did go up to 48% dampening. But like I kind of mentioned, I kind of blinked and we got there. I think really at any moment this game could end. Method Orange, I think their best attempt here is onto Zipa. If they can get good crowd control, but Sam I Am and a Lightning Lasso once again would be in some trouble. Full leg sweep onto Sea-Doo, and Wildcard Gaming, they have so much crowd control on Sea-Doo early on. Method Orange is basically forced to play defensive.
Wildcard Gaming are setting up for kills early on, which we do not normally expect from this composition. The Balance Druid and the Elemental Shaman usually focus on Cyclones, Healing Surges, Disruption, and stalling the game. But in this particular matchup, they are also looking for setups and burst opportunities, and potentially catching Method Orange off guard at times and forcing major defensive cooldowns, such as the Ice Block. Sam I Am will only have one of those for another 5 minutes. Sea-Doo gets bashed. Where are Wildcard Gaming trying to go? It looks like they're trying to go after Sea-Doo. Bit of a swap over onto him. Trill's out of the game in a Cyclone, but Sea-Doo is able to duck around the corner. Perfect positioning on his part, not getting caught overextended. Cycloning Zipai, so he is safe to move to midfield and potentially switch the Cyclone over. Now cycloning up Morrow. Curious to see if he can move over to Looney. Jumping now on top of Looney for a leg sweep swap, but he got the Fortified Brew off right before the stun. A bit of a mistake and a blunder on Method Orange's part, and that allows Looney to easily survive.
Yeah, Looney is able to survive, and like I kind of mentioned in the last match, it is really difficult to take down a Mistweaver as this composition for multiple reasons. The first reason is, first of all, Looney, he's playing human, so he has the every man for himself to break out a stun. He's also playing Relentless, so all of the stuns are going to be reduced on him, but also with that Life Cocoon, with the Fortifying Brew, he always has an answer for when Trill and Sea-Doo have their stuns available, and the only way Method Orange is really going to take him down is overwhelming amounts of burst damage. I think they have to get Looney in a stun when he's already a little bit low, but Wildcard Gaming with a huge attempt on a Sea-Doo. Sea-Doo could be in some trouble, activating the bar skin as well as the Shadow Meld. Shadow Melding 2 incoming Maledicts from Wildcard Gaming. Great plays.
Yep, Looney now counterspelled, and Zeepai the target. It's 3-on-1, and he's in midfield. That's perfect for Method Orange. But Sidu tried to jump in for crowd control, got clotheslined by Morrow. He has to trinket, but they go for it anyway. It's do or die to kill Zeepai. Morrow is the playmaker here for Wildcard Gaming with beautiful cyclones on Sam
nice.
IM, denying the kill long enough for Looney to connect the life cocoon, but now Sidu cycloning that at low health. Zeepai is starting to stabilize, and now counter aggress on the Sam IM. Big hits. Temporal Shield lined up, though, soaks up all that damage and will likely heal him back to full. Both teams so evenly matched here in game number 2.
Definitely. Looney still with a little bit of an edge in terms of mana. We can start seeing more setups coming in from Method Orange. The last one was nice, but they really didn't get too many defensive cooldowns. The Astral Shift will be forced out by Zeepai, but only has a 1.5-minute cooldown. So in 53 seconds, that's going to be available once again. Trill, excellently done, using his Touch of Karma on the bash from Morrow, and that will keep him alive and basically not force out too much mana from Sidu. Preemptive plays coming in from both teams, just trying to avoid as much damage as possible, trying to conserve their mana bars, and we've been seeing that from a lot of the teams in this tournament. Instead of just overhealing, just spamming out as much mana as you can, they've been very precise in avoiding damage so they can extend their mana bar for longer on in the game.
Big hit on Sam IM. Sidu's in crowd control. This could be the second ice block already. Still 2 minutes away from a third one, potentially. We do see Iron Bark just in time. Sam IM stabilizes at 50% as they look to attack Looney. Big hits, Life Cocoon. That actually gets shredded quite rapidly by Method Orange, but Looney recovers. Trill now in a Cyclone. Sam IM still the target, but Sidu at his side, connecting some big regrowths and starting to stabilize. At any moment, these Star Surges in a big Earthshock could close this game out for Wildcard Game to take it. Trill gets blasted, Cyclone to low health. Sidu trying to time some heals out of the Cyclone. Trill still moving forward aggressively. Way of the Crane gets activated. Looney wants to get a kill for his team with that cooldown. It's going to add a huge amount of damage to the team. They lock out Sidu. 2 members potentially in trouble. Sam IM getting swapped to as well. 3 members in trouble. Sidu paralysis, Trill to target. Diffuse magic on the Gliders Maledict, but there are multiple incoming. Lightning Lasso pins Trill down, but with Iron Bark activate, he's going to more than likely to survive. They now switch targets, and Wildcard Gaming are all over the place.
Yep, Lightning Lasso on Trill, forcing out the Iron Bark. Immediately Cyclone on Trill, and damage on Sam IM. That forces Sidu to heal multiple targets and not get full value out of that Iron Bark in this matchup. We are now at 2% dampening in terms of mana. Sidu a little bit behind, but he was able to hold on to his mana bar for quite a while in that last game. Morrow now looking for a bash paralysis onto Looney. Good crowd control here from Method Orange. Who are they going after? Once again, onto Looney. Can they take him down? ER bash! A lot of incoming burst damage, but Looney, all he needs is one global, one ability, the Life Cocoon, to keep himself alive. And that's my only problem with these swaps coming in from Method Orange. They get a lot of pressure, a lot of damage, but Looney just immediately negates everything they do with just one button, portaling behind the pillar, and able to stabilize completely.
Every single member in this match playing out of their minds. Game 2 of Series 2 of the day between North America and Europe at the Spring Finals of 2019. Wildcard Gaming leading this series 1-0, but that last game was so close. It could have easily gone in favor of Method Orange, so we cannot count them out just yet. I could see this going to a game number 5. If you are just tuning in, you do not want to go anywhere. Looney managing to regenerate back to full mana. That's a big play on his part, so he'll be able to access that Way of the Crane more frequently and more often. Sam IM on the run. Trill gets left behind. He's bashed in midfield. Big damage follows up out of it. Transcendence back out of line of sight, but Sidu not able to get to him just yet. Connects some heals finally. Sam IM's now in trouble looking for polymorphs. Looney pre-rolls away. Expected to swap onto himself, so activated that fortified elixir, but they didn't actually switch, so now that preemptive play is an opening for Method Orange. Curious to see if Sidu can move across the map and initiate it for the team. He is in midfield currently, and Sam IM with him as well. Looney gets caught, but Sam IM's in trouble. Sidu needs to juggle both defense and offense perfectly. Sam IM cycloned at low health on the swap onto Looney. Perfect timing by Morrow. Great support on his part with the utility of that balance druid, and now equally so with burst damage as Sam IM Shadow Melts 2 Gladiators Maledicts for 1 Shadow Meld. Perfect exchange and mistakes made by Wildcard Gaming.
Yeah, definitely well done by Sam IM, but once again, Method Orange forced really defensive, and that's not what you want when you are the control composition. Bash onto Sidu, good attempt here from Wildcard Gaming, but Zeepai getting low. Trill on a solo mission, putting out huge damage on that Windwalker, forcing out the Astral Shift, and now this is definitely a vulnerable situation for Wildcard. Can't land anything. Sam IM in the meantime Does have the ice block, doesn't want to throw away the game behind the pillar. Gladiator Safeguard is enough of a safety net to allow Sea-Doo to get some healing out, but Trill in the meantime also getting swapped to. Wildcard Gaming is all over the place. Trill gets Cyclone on that touch of Karma, still vulnerable. Now back on Sam I Am, really keeping Sea-Doo guessing.
Morrow is playing great on this balanced Druid, and Wildcard Gaming overall huge damage. Ice block at very low health. Method Orange cannot afford to lose here. They'll be put on match point. 2-0 for Europe in this series, if that's the case. How much longer can Sea-Doo keep it up? His mana is falling behind to that of Looney. The cooldowns are starting to be spread thin. Sea-Doo gets swapped to. That's going to be a Gladiator's Medallion. Sea-Doo tries to lead the charge for the team. But Bash, where's the Cyclone? He's not able to get it. Gets denied. He's now in the Cyclone. Trill on the run. He's in trouble, almost completely alone. Still more Cyclones to follow up on Sea-Doo. How is Trill going to escape? It doesn't look like he even wants to. He's reluctant, decides to retreat now, able to avoid some pressure. Looney, he's moving in right on top of Method Orange, even as the healer, trying to make sure he can secure some crowd control for the team as dampening continues to mount.
Yeah, this is the bit of a disaster for Sam I Am. In that last exchange, he actually got interrupted on a Frostbolt when they bursted him down, so he was forced to use his Cold Snap, meaning he traded out both of his ice blocks on that last attempt from Wildcard Gaming. Now Method Orange is going to be increasingly vulnerable because of that. Sam I Am really going to have to think twice before pushing in. Another attempt here onto Looney, but once again mitigated by the Life Cocoon. Although now that's not available for Zeepai, so if they can get the Life Cocoon out of the way by the swaps on Looney, potentially they could take down Zeepai a little bit later on. Lightning Lasso onto Sea-Doo, but good backup by Trill interrupting that quite quickly, and Sea-Doo does manage to survive.
I don't know, momentum is starting to go in favor of Wildcard Gaming with 2 members low on health. Method Orange are trying to pull themselves back together here for another attack towards Zeepai. Trill really carrying the damage right now and the crowd control, but he's overextended. Realizing that, he activates Touch of Karma to go in for the kill. Doesn't decide to do so. Sea-Doo's trying to set up a drink. Sam I Am blinks back to avoid damage. The Starfall whiffs. Sea-Doo is in stealth. If he can regenerate back to full mana, Trill though is still exposed. Diffuse Magic on such low health, but Sea-Doo managed to do it. He's got a full mana bar for Method Orange and the team. He just needs to recover.
Trill has to hold on a little bit longer. He's still low. Sea-Doo, he needs to start connecting some heals, but he's just caught in crowd control. Beautiful CC from Morrow. Hex now. Sam I Am dispels it off. It looks like Method Orange might be able to recover, but Sam I Am still vulnerable. Gladiator Safeguard once again. Last line of defense for Method Orange. Sea-Doo with a full tank of mana. If he can recover here, this is going to be great for Method Orange, but Wildcard Gaming really trying to punch that drink.
Look at this damage from Wildcard Gaming. 2 members have been at sub 50% health for a minute straight at this point. Sea-Doo managed to regenerate mana, but he's having such a hard time getting his team back to full health for a push. It's taking so long, they decide to go for it. It's do or die. Looney gets crowd controlled. Who's the target? Morrow sees it coming. He's in bear form right before the attack, but they don't even seem to care. They're trying to cut through that. They are managing to do so at 33% damage, but Sam I Am spent too long in midfield. Zeepai's tearing into him. They left Zeepai open for 5 seconds, and he is going to close this out. 2-0 for Wildcard Gaming.
And let's talk about how that game looked compared to the first one. Wildcard Gaming seems to be picking up some serious momentum here. Adrian, what does the rest of the series look like in your mind before we actually even break down what happened in this game?
I mean, firstly, when I first saw the blind pick from Wildcard Gaming, I thought it was a very neutral blind pick. They've played this Mage Elemental quite a lot in the European scene, but it's traditionally more focused at kind of caster cleaves. It's just a comp that's kind of okay into everything. The Mistweaver traditionally isn't good into the Frost Mage because, you know, it's hard to avoid the polymorphs, but because of the build that Looney's playing, you know, where he can reduce the Life Cocoon cooldown to about 55 seconds, and just because of how good of a healer he is, he's always able to preemptively get something. They're rotating so well, Wildcard Gaming. It's this Stonewall defense that we've come to love and know from this team. And I mean, honestly, Rich, Method Orange have 2 games in a row locked in the Mage Windwalker, and I think they've played the comp pretty well. They're just up against it. They don't seem to have something better against Wildcard. I would love to see them maybe go over to some sort of cleave composition because there is no Frost Mage in Wildcard's comp, but if they do that, they're going to meet some Mage Elemental or something later in the series, I think.
I have a question for you guys on the desk. I feel like these map picks aren't necessarily the best for Method Orange. It seems like for the Mistweaver Monk of Looney, he's always trying to just cross the map, get away from Sea-Doo, get away from Sam I Am, avoid the crowd control, and basically force Method Orange in the open where Zeepai and both Morrow can really tee off and get that effective Moonkin Elemental Shaman damage off. Adrian, do you think a smaller map might be better for them?
Maybe. I mean, they did get the drink, right? Like, the drink on Sea-Doo was the second least on life, and the only reason that they ended up dying was because that mistake you highlighted during the cast where Sam AM got locked out on Frost. It was a big mistake from him, honestly. He was about 20% health and Mara had Incarnation up, so I would say that's quite a big misplay from Sam AM at that moment in the match. If he'd had that last ice block, maybe they would have had the, you know, the mana pool, the resources to go into deep damp where it's going to be harder for Zebai to keep himself up. That said, obviously the big map, they're trying to do swaps over onto Looney. On a smaller map, it would be much easier for him to set those up. He wouldn't be able to pre-port so far away at the end of those as well. And I mean, he's got his human ratio in the backline to get out of those stuns. Maybe if they could be on a smaller map, they could kind of chase him through that because, you know, there's less place for him to port.
Well, as we meditate on some of those questions, I have one more that we have to think about, and that is whether or not this deck is stacked. Wildcard Gaming already with 2 in their back pocket. Will they find the hot 3-0 when we return? It's going to need to be Method Orange who has an ace up their sleeve. Otherwise, Wildcard Gaming going to be able to take their first series of the day. A strong performance right now. We could just be kicking things off with 2 3-0s and healing stat. I just want for everybody who's tuning in right now, think about a little bit of history. We look at last year and we look at what happened with Method Orange, right? This is a squad. They get to the first LAN. It doesn't look so good. They get chomped down to the lower bracket in their first series against Reform and end up falling out of the tournament relatively quickly. Then we get to the second LAN. Sea-Doo isn't there. It's a relatively tough performance. Then they get to BlizzCon and they win the entire thing. When we look at Wildcard Gaming, this was a team that I think was a big favorite in EU. It was Zico's favorite, actually, when we did touch down at the beginning of the season, and they did kind of stagnate. This time, on the other hand, it seems like they've just been picking up momentum much earlier, and now looking fantastic in the lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's really 2 different teams you've got here. I mean, actually at BlizzCon last year, which of course Method Orange went on to win, they 3-0'd Wildcard Gaming and they just knocked them out the tournament. It was very simple, very clean, easy Moonkin Demon Hunter victories. But I really think a lot of it comes down to the addition of Mara. Mara has looked fantastic on the Mage, fantastic on the Moonkin. In fact, during the competitive season, he played 17 games on Moonkin and won 71% of them, which is an incredibly high stat for a class that typically isn't really seen on the ladder, at least. You don't really see too many Moonkins. They've made it work, and other people are starting to follow by example. Wildcard Gaming are a true favorite for this tournament.
Well, we look at Method Orange, and we look at the choice here. It looks like they're going for essentially full comfort. How do you like this pick, Ven?
Well, I think for Method Orange, like we kind of talked about, it seemed like for the Frost Mage Windwalker Restoration Druid, they played it pretty well. I mean, they brought the game very far in game number 1. They had a lot of clean attempts, so you can't really blame them. They're down 0-2 right now. To switch it up, go back to that comfort. I think bringing it to a small map like Dalaran Sewers could swing the match in their favor, but we have to remember, Wildcard Gaming, they made this composition to beat these melee cleaves. So Method Orange potentially a little bit compositionally disadvantaged. The smaller map like Dalaran Sewers could swing it in their favor, but I think for Method Orange, just changing up their composition, trying something else is definitely going to be beneficial.
Supatis, did you expect to see a Restoration Shaman come into play?
I mean, it's Sea-Doo. If you don't see a Restoration Shaman at some point, there's probably something funky going on. Although his Druid has looked phenomenal, but they're going to go back to the roots. They're bringing in Mez, Big Daddy Mez. He has to carry the team now. They're on against the wall. It's 2-0. If they lose this, they're going down to the lower bracket early on, and that is going to be a shark-infested lower bracket with AWC already down there. Sea-Doo, Mez, Trill, what can they do? It's Dalaran Sewers. They've set themselves up strategically on the map choice and the composition. Can Trill nail enough mana rifts to burn Looney's mana out and find the victory with pressure is the question. Can Mez perform on the stage here the first time we're going to see him?
Yeah, we'll definitely wait to see. Full Asphyxiate stun onto Looney. Are they able to get a mana rift? Unfortunately not able to find it. Trill playing the death, or from the rain from above, sorry. to get that extra damage out
Oh!
of the Demon Hunter, but he's
Oh!
into a lightning lasso. Could fall very early on. He trinkets. Still in a lot of trouble. Darkness gets dropped out, as well as Metamorphosis, as well as Anti-Magic Zone. Sea-Doo caught into a full Cyclone. Shrill all alone. Wildcard Gaming looking to close out game number 3 instantaneously. And they will claim this series, sending Method Orange down to the lower bracket.
That's not really the way you want to go down to the lower bracket either. If you have to do it, that's not how you want to do it. Not at all. And this is just Wildcard Gaming picking up momentum until a complete devastating win against Method Orange, sending them straight to the Shadow Realm, sending them straight to the lower bracket.
That was pure outplay on the side of Wildcard Gaming. They were able to get the stun up on the trinket from Sea-Doo. Beautiful lightning lasso as basically Trill descended from the sky. That's meant to be one of the scariest things a Demon Hunter can do. The lightning lasso snipes in midair, landing the kill. They just had so much pressure from that point. The trinket from Sea-Doo was not enough. And I mean, I actually think the Elemental Shamans are the counter to the Demon Hunter. Demon Hunters are vulnerable during stuns. They rely a lot on leech healing during their metamorphosis. Obviously, you can't press any abilities to leech off of when you're in the stun. And Lightning Lasso is that clothesline that they need. It's just absolutely insane. The finish here, we can have a little look at it once again.
The finish, the whole entire game.
The finish basically was the entire game, Rich. This was completely one-sided affair from Wildcard Gaming. This is the number 2 seed from Europe. Europe this year, I mean, I talked to some of the players. I was kind of embarrassed, you know, they get all NA final. Can you imagine that at BlizzCon? The European teams have something to prove here. Wildcard Gaming 3-0ing the BlizzCon champions is just the start.
It's good to have you back, Adrian.
Just the start.
And we can take a look at that moment where, like we said, Trill kind of gets sniped by the lightning lasso. And in this moment, it's full panic mode. Looney just sitting beside Sea-Doo, paralysis into a full leg. So even Trill doing everything he can to survive. Method Orange trading out basically everything, but the crowd control was just too much. Huge burst damage off the back of that lightning lasso from Zeepai, and Wildcard Gaming gets a clean sweep.
You don't see many things end that quickly. That is for sure. A pretty fast one here, Supatees. Let's actually talk about what we think the rest of the tournament looks like for both of these teams, because I already start to ask, when we were talking about Wildcard Gaming potentially being a team that stagnated, you know, they come out, they look like one of the best teams when we are on online play. Have they grown at all over the past month? I don't think we can answer that yet. I don't think that they were truly tested here.
I mean, I don't know. That composition is normally very difficult to kill, especially within the first few seconds of the game. Of course, maybe Method Orange weren't anticipating that much damage potentially, but the Balanced Elemental Shaman we've seen take some of the longest dampening matches in any tournament, and now Wildcard Gaming are capable of closing a game out within seconds. So if you're capable of the late game and the early game, you're looking solid on that composition, and I was not expecting that one to go down so easily and so quickly for Method Orange in favor of Wildcard Gaming, and they've definitely leveled up that Elemental Shaman Balanced Druid composition.
Well, luckily for us, we can actually hear from Wildcard Gaming right now. We got Morrow on the floor with Aya.
Hey guys, I'm here with Morrow of Wildcard Gaming. You guys just won your first match. So you just came in for Europe. Are you guys feeling a little bit jet lagged? How is it going during practices?
I think it went overall kind of good. Obviously, it's always a bit difficult playing here instead of Europe, but we had enough days. We had 2-3 days to prepare for this, and I think we're all in a good shape and we're feeling confident.
And you were playing with last year's XRB. You're with Looney, Blizzo, and Zeepai. How's it like adapting to a new team with new compositions?
I think it was actually kind of difficult for me to adapt because I used to be playing Rogue Mage only in every team I've been so far. But they kind of helped me a lot, and also the meta kind of favors us a bit right now due to having some good mage comps, Mage Elemental, Mage Windwalker. So it was kind of an easy transition, but yeah, it was definitely a bit different.
And you're going on now to face Cloud9. Do you think you're ready for that?
We're ready for that.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Mario. Back to you guys at the desk.
Wow, what a matchup to actually set things up where you managed to win your matchups 3-0. Both of these guys win their matchups 3-0 just to play against some of the toughest competition. Cloud9 probably the toughest team in NA. They're definitely up there, and we can look at the bracket right now and actually see just these two forces about to go head-to-head. I'm going to ask really quickly here, Healing Stat. I'm going to put you on the spot. Let's look ahead at this matchup. Cloud9 versus Wildcard Gaming. What do you think this one actually looks like?
So I predicted this to be the closest series of all, and if there's one team that could make me eat my words about North America, it will be Cloud9. Cloud9 have been absolutely astonishing throughout the entire spring season. Their roster is phenomenal. Having Snuts and Chanimals on the same team, it blows my mind. Like, they basically take the two best Warlocks in the world, I would argue right now, put them on the same roster. So in any Warlock meta, this is the best team in the world. It's going to be an interesting one. I gave it 3-2 when I predicted it earlier in favor of Wildcard Gaming, but if any team from North America could really shut down this EU terror, I think it would be